Hi guys, I'm here with Aaditya Meher today, and he has scored a fantastic 99.97 percentile in CAT 2024. So we're really glad to have him here. So Aditya, on to you. Can you please introduce yourself and uh, what you did over the last couple months?
Right. Hi, Rishabh. So I'm Aditya Meher. I'm an engineering male and I studied my engineering in information technology from Sardar Patel Institute of Technology in Mumbai. My academic background is 91 percentile, 91% in my 10th grade, 94% in my 12th grade, and 81% in my graduation. And currently, I have about 6 months of experience. And when I filled the CAT form, I had 16 days of experience.
Okay. Right. So you is this the first time you wrote CAT?
So this is my second time. The first time I wrote CAT, I got a 98.4 percentile, and I
And you
thought I
wrote
could do
that
better.
during your final year of graduation.
Right? Yes.
Right.
So I wrote, yeah.
So that was the first time. Okay. So what do you do? Like, what do you do the first time? What do you do differently this time? What do you think caused like the dramatic change?
So I would attribute it to two different things, right? Firstly, during my first attempt, I was more emotionally invested in the outcome of the paper. And whenever a mock went bad or was a difficult mock, I probably say felt bad for a week, or maybe lost my confidence. Whereas this time I took it more as a performance gauge, and instead of taking it at heart, I started looking at where I went wrong and actually analyzing my paper and went from there, right? And the second thing that I did better this time was, instead of focusing on just like cat level questions, I did a larger variety of questions, and because I learned that during my first attempt especially, that cat has no level, and a lot of questions
Yeah.
can be of very different levels.
So we'll dive a little bit into that if you're okay. You said that you analyzed your mocks better and understood better, right? I'm sure a lot of people are going to watch this and would want to understand from you. So like, take us through the process, like how you would normally analyze a mock across the three sections, and what did you flag in your performance, and how did you get better with that?
Um, so, so when I, so from the get go, when I began my preparation, I knew that I could not solve two like 198 out of 198, get a 198 out of 198 marks. I knew that there was a certain percent of marks that I can score realistically, and that's where I wanted to target. So, for example, if I was analyzing a particular section, I would go into the questions which I could have done, but say I was not able to do during the mock test, or where in just a little bit more stretch in conceptual clarity would have helped me solve that question. So it was mostly flagging those questions down, which with little effort or with some effort I could have done better. Obviously, there are a lot of trap questions, and especially in DIL, a lot of trap sets
Yeah.
that you need to avoid. And it was important to identify which of those sets are traps and which are not, and go from there.
Okay. And what about quant? Was that like your strong area, given the fact that you're an engineer, or and everything, or did you
Uh,
always feel comfortable with quants?
so funny thing. Last year when I took CAT, I got a 91 percentile in quant. This year when
Okay.
I took CAT, I got 99.92 percentile in quant. So I wouldn't say it was my strong area. However, it comes down to those one or two questions that say you probably would not be able to solve generally, but you were able to apply some trick or some sort of method to
Yeah.
it, which they wouldn't have hit you during regular solving, and that's where it makes a difference.
Right. Okay. So now I know the fact that you studied for CAT for this year while working, right?
Yes.
So I want to ask you that. So how did you manage the studying part of it while working? Right? Because a lot of students actually do that, and that's one of the components that they struggle with is managing the work and studying for
Mhm.
CAT properly. So take us through your process.
So, and having prepared for JE, I had that sort of background of waking up early and working through my studying for these exams, because I had to
Yeah.
end up going to school, right? So generally, when I was preparing for CAT, I used to either wake up at say 5 a.m. or sleep a bit later, and I was not able to give more than 3 to 4 hours, 2 to 3 hours in a day, because given my schedule. However, I think what was most important was staying consistent to that particular schedule. If I had to wake up at 5 o'clock, that means I had to wake up at 5 o'clock, and um, no deviation was tolerated. Obviously,
Yeah.
some deviations okay, but beyond the point, you should be able to get back when you deviate.
Right. One thing I noticed when you said while you were taking mocks this year, you said that this time you took it a little more performance based, where you
Mhm.
had targets and you looked at mocks, analyzed it, and got better. Now, you obviously
Mhm.
did very well in the CAT exam. So, I have to ask you, what targets did you have while taking the mocks this year? Did you have any?
So,
Because you said that you had targets. So, what were they? And like, did it keep increasing as you kept getting better? What was that?
so this year I knew that I did not want to, have like so given my profile, I knew that if I wanted to top IM call, I needed at least 99.7, 99.8 to even stand a chance.
Absolutely, yeah.
So my in my mind, the goal was 99.8, and then maybe try for more than that.
Yeah.
However, when I was solving the paper, when I was actually doing the mock test, I was not thinking about 99.9 or 99.8 or 99.7. I was thinking about solving the most questions I could in that particular moment. And that is, I think, what is the most important when you are not focusing on the result during the paper. Because once you think about the result during the paper, that is when you lose the game.
Fair enough, I get that. Okay, now coming to the CAT 2024 exam, you obviously did very well there. So take us through the exam, what happened exam day, and like, was each section like very comfortable for you, and like, how do you do that?
Okay, so the last mock test before the exam was
Yeah,
actually my lowest mock score in this entire season. So I got maybe a 91 percentile in that one, and it was a bit disheartening since it was just 4 days before the actual CAT.
yeah,
So for a few days I was a bit down, but then I realized ki, whatever happens in that mock test is not going to define the performance. And on the
absolutely.
day of on the day of the exam, I had a set schedule over the past say few weeks, where, for example, I would consume say a coffee or a tea or something before the exam, so that I'm in that zone of familiarity. And before the exam, I was not thinking. I just went into the exam center very happy, and I
That's
think that is what made a difference.
and which slot were you?
I slot two.
Slot two. Okay,
Yeah,
that's people find that the best slot where you've just
yeah,
woken up, have breakfast, and you're like ready to go for the
yeah,
exam. Right?
yeah.
You
I
have to
think the
get.
most important thing is going in happy, and
Yeah,
if you're not
I know.
thinking
I
about
completely agree with you. I completely. Anyone asks for what you should do on exam day, I say the same thing. Just make sure you're happy and go to the exam, and you're actually excited to solve the questions rather than being stressed about the questions.
exactly.
Right. Okay. So with the Cracku thing, so I want to ask you. You're obviously a Cracku student, right?
Yeah.
We're very happy about that. Walk us through how Cracku helped you, and how were the dash cats, and what probably stood out for you in the entire material.
Okay, so coming in from, I wouldn't say trauma, but if I had to say, coming in from the experience of CAT 23, I knew that I had to increase my range of difficulty that I'm able to solve. So, and I knew that Cracku was that mock test, give that mock test that had difficulty a notch above CAT. So while it was still relevant, it was definitely preparing you for the worst. And that is what stood out for me with the dash cats. They were there to prepare you for the worst possible paper. So even if an easy paper came, you could just do as much as you can. And I think apart from the dash cats, I would also say the study room was important, because obviously when you need to practice a lot for these such exams, and the study room with its adaptive difficulty was important in helping me not lose that confidence or lose that momentum when solving different topics.
Okay, so anyone, let's say someone like you comes up to you and like asks like how you would utilize the Krakow resources efficiently.
Mhm.
From your opinion, what would the advice be?
Yeah. Okay. So the first thing would be to be very regular with the dash cats. Taking the mock tests at during the slot especially helps you, like during the open window, helps you stay regular to your and stay truthful to your preparation. And once the dashcat window is open, you are able to analyze your mock, or you should be able to figure out what topics in that particular mock you were lagging in, and then go back to the study room and start practicing those topics. That's the most simple. It doesn't get more difficult than that.
I agree. Fantastic advice. I would say the same. That's great stuff. And coming to the this thing, cat score, I'm sure you've got all the Blackie calls, right?
I've not gotten a Bangalore call.
Not Bangalore call.
No Bangalore call.
I'm sure that's because of the work experience.
Yeah.
You probably can expect a PGP BA. I don't think they're out yet.
They're not out yet, but I hope I get one. But I'll see if if I get it or
Well,
not.
they're probably missing out on you. That's
Yeah.
fine.
I like to think that, yeah.
Right. Is there anything else you'd like to add about?
I mean, I wanted to focus on being happy during the exam and going with a mindset that this is not everything. It's just one exam, and if you don't have to think that if you don't do well in this exam, your world is going to end. You probably are still 21, 20, 23, and you have a long way to go. So
Yeah.
just go happy into the exam and just go in there uh, with the will to solve questions, and you enjoy the process. That's also the most important thing. If you hate
No, I
it, then
love
you
the advice. I love the advice. I hope everyone who watches this understands that being happy and going into the exam happy and excited is all you need to do. Obviously, along with if you have done the preparation well.
yeah, obviously.
Yeah. No, Aditya, thank you so much for
Yeah.
coming and doing
Thank you,
this.
Rishabh.
Right. It was great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was great meeting you, Rishabh.